So thank you very much for being here, and I'm also honored and very glad to be here as a part of the seminar. And today I will be moderating and animating a panel discussion on the perspectives of risk management. Now, the whole idea about the panel is this: that we've heard, what Vision 2030 is going to bring to Saudi Arabia. It's going to accelerate, it's going to boost the growth phenomenally of aviation in the kingdom. And along with this growth of aviation, we also have this little shadow which will be trailing this growth along. And that shadow is called risk. Now, we often talk about risk management as something from the textbook, saying that, okay, how do you manage risks? How do you identify the hazard, manage it, control it, etc.? And we think that everybody reads risk in a similar way. But the truth is that, and that's the reason why we'll be sitting here today, and we'll take about 35 minutes today, to discuss that the perception of risk as seen by different segments of the industry is seen differently, although we may talk the same language, but how it is seen and conveyed and what is pulling on to a particular industry segment is different from the other. So depending on the aviation ecosystem where you lie will be a different perspective, and this is what we are going to go through on this segment today. Now, to an OEM, and this is where we are going to have a segment which has got all parts of the aviation ecosystem. Unfortunately, I've just learned that one of the operators, who is also one of the component of this ecosystem, THC, would not be joining in, but nevertheless, we'll try to make do. So we have in this panel, we'll be having someone from the OEM, and the OEM, as he views risks, is different because for OEM, the risk is a design parameter. It's about engineering, reliability, it's about redundancy. This is how an OEM looks at it. If you look out from the point of view for a regulator, he looks at it differently. For him, it's about compliance, it's about oversight, it's about making the skies safe in Saudi Arabia. For an operator, who unfortunately is not here, he's the one who gets hit by the risk the most, because if risk takes better of the entire operation, then it always ends up in incident or accident, and that's where the hit comes. So for him, the risk is actually a punch in the gut. And to the insurer, we also have someone from insurance here. He's the person who quantifies this liability, and he's the one who makes the numbers about what is the financial resilience about risk in the industry. So today, we are having a panel which has got a 360-degree view, minus the operator now. So from the regulatory point of view, representing General Authority of Civil Aviation, please welcome Khalid Bukhari. Khalid, as you would have seen, was already there in the first segment. He's the Director of Aviation Safety Performance at GACA, and he has experience of over 15 years across civil aviation, aerospace and defense, oil and gas. So he focuses on strengthening national safety performance and supporting the implementation of the state safety program, for which he had briefed you in the opening segment. Khalid holds a degree in electrical engineering, and he's recognized for bringing both the technical depth and the collaborative mindset to Saudi Arabia's aviation safety landscape. To bring up from the manufacturer point of view, I would like you to welcome Ehsan Nasir. He's from Boeing. He is the Regional Manager, Aviation Safety Strategy, and based out of Dubai. Ehsan has got nearly 30 years experience as an aviation professional, and he has lots of experience in commercial flight operation, accident investigation, and SMS implementation. He's worked as a safety expert in 3 national flag carriers and has been collaborating with various regulatory bodies and industry organizations such as the ICAO Mid Eastern Regional Aviation Safety Group and the AIG Regional Cooperation Mechanism Group. And bringing up from the insurer's point of view, I would like you to welcome from Marsh, Harry Fairbairn. So Marsh are the people who are into the insurance business, and they quantify the unquantifiable and manage the financial architecture of safety. Harry is the Senior Vice President Aviation at Marsh in Dubai. He's been in the aviation insurance industry for over 10 years, both as an underwriter and a broker at two big majors, AIG and also at Marsh now. He heads the aviation aerospace practice for India, Middle East, and Africa to provide risk and insurance solutions to airlines, operators, GA1s, and several aerospace clients. Unfortunately, we do not have our fourth panelist who would have made a very well-rounded discussion, who was the operator from THC. But nevertheless, with this panel group, I will welcome you all on the panel on perspectives of risk management. So let me start off with Khalid, with you first, all right? If that is okay with you, Khalid. So Khalid, in your first presentation, when you were talking about the state safety program and on risk management, we had this beautiful yet complicated slide about this massive funnel which showed that how risk management would be done as seen from GACA. Now, you also understand that the industry is growing at a visibly very fast, high rate. We also know that often regulators and government bodies do not match to keep up pace with the growth of the industry, and usually there's always a lagging behind in this. Now, in your safety management, what you have shown, and the risk assessment, risk management, there was a lot of emphasis on data, and it was actually a data-driven approach as what you have presented. I think that this is where you say that GACA is now moving over to performance-based oversight. This is essentially what you mean. So can you let us know, what do you see as the bottlenecks for doing what this has been presented as a performance-based oversight? Do you think that GACA has the infrastructure and the human resources and the intelligence to grasp data and act on it? And B, do you think that the industry from which you want the data and you are going to receive the data from, are they mature enough, or do they have these data systems which can generate the kind of data that you require to do a performance-based oversight?
Okay, so to answer this, so if we go to the performance-based oversight that you mentioned, this is an approach. GACA recognizes that it is important to move away from the linear activities or surveillance activities to more strategic planning of our resources when it comes to oversight. Performance-based oversight is basically, like you mentioned, it relies on data, it relies on analysis, it provides the information for decision making, so you make sure your oversight activities, because everywhere there is if you don't plan it right, you will face issues with capacity. So you have to plan it right. That's why performance-based oversight is an approach under the state safety program that GACA is now adopting. Based on the data, we started by building a framework which is called Organizational Safety Risk Profiles. We have already implemented this. We have organizational risk profiles now that give us a fair measure of risks, where are gaps. Based on that, our planning for oversight takes place. We plan it where it's needed, rather than just linearly go and carry on oversight equally over all organizations. So this plan will help us adopt and embrace this rapid acceleration of expansion of the aviation system. But you also mentioned the importance of data. Again, yes, this is very important. Key two things in that is what we're doing right now is the safety culture. is trying to enhance safety culture, introduce the idea. It's there already, but we're trying to emphasize the importance of just culture. We do receive a high number of reports, high number of information. The industry is already collaborative with us, already open. We already have that trust, but we're trying to maintain it. We hope to enhance it. But also from the other side, now we have this huge amount of data analysis. To become information, we need to make sure that we have the capacity from expertise. That's why if you saw on the model, one of the models, we call it the working groups, the SSP working group. This is where the subject matter experts and GACA sit together under the umbrella of the state safety program, out of context of operation, out of context of agenda of certain organization. They just look at the information available nationally to analyze these, to come for analysis. So this is where we rely on subject matter expert. Additionally, we are trying to leverage, we know the importance of data. That's why GACA is leveraging the technologies, leveraging tools. We have now shared database among all sectors of GACA, not only one sector, because information is key for success of any performance-based oversight. So right now we have this tool called Organizational Safety Risk Profile. We are also enhancing this over the period of the next coming years, because we know the importance of safety. Also, we have safety management system assessment. All of these will give us the information that feeds in our performance-based oversight.
Okay, continuing on the same data theme, and Ehsan, now I'll put the question to you, since we started off on a data theme, of course, led by your inaugural part, and now that what you just clarified and expanded upon. Ehsan, as OEMs like Airbus and Boeing, for us, data is a key source of intelligence, and this is what we make our products better, and we bring efficiency into the services and logistics that we deliver. Now, I wanted to know that since you're based out of Dubai and looking into the region part, and not particularly, as I understand, or particularly only to Saudi Arabia, what do you see as the acceptability of data, A, for receiving data, and B, as the sharing of data which is there? A, from the point that, do you think that the technicians or the people who are working on the aircraft in the Middle East area, for which you are looking after, do you think that there's a greater acceptability for technicians to use data for predictive maintenance, for example? Do you see that part? And second question to you on the same line is that, do you think that the data which is coming out of your aircraft and out of your systems which are there, which could also be feeding as part of the risk management, as part of the FDM, the black box and the FDR contain a gold mine of data. Do you think that there is a hesitancy in sharing this data to regulators? Have you seen that? Or do you think that people and operators are okay and do feel that there is a just culture in sharing this data to regulators without inviting or audit or extra inspection?
Yeah, thank you, Shankar. As Boeing, first of all, our relationship with Saudi Arabia goes back a long way, probably early 50s or even before that. Just last night, I was going through the state safety program of KSA, which Khaled mentioned this morning. And the foreword, the first line, talks about a safe and sustainable system to support growth. And data is a critical enabler for that. Because when we talk about SMS, SMS is a decision-making tool based on risk. Someone has to report hazards to you to identify risk. And that data basically comes in the form of various reports. You talked about predictive maintenance. the aircraft of today, the newer generation aircraft, they produce huge amounts of data. Just to name a few, the airplane health monitoring system on Boeing aircraft, it produces probably gigabytes of data. It can help you minimize unscheduled maintenance events. It can help you minimize or capture adverse trends, learn lessons, use it as inputs to your safety enhancement as part of the SMS, use it as sources for effective risk management, and use that data for measuring safety performance. And I'm sure when you are developing a system, a safety system, a SMS or a SSP, you need to measure the performance to see how effective that is. And you can only measure that effectiveness if you have access to the right data and meaningful data. So as a design and manufacturing organization, we are also required to have a SMS. We have an internal risk register, but I think we also owe a responsibility to the ecosystem. So the methodology we incorporate is that we want to connect our SMSs with the SMSs of other organizations. We recently signed a MOU with GACA. It was in public domain on advanced air mobility, on sharing of resources, learning from each other, on safety enhancement. The other component of your question is acceptability. And I think the panel in the morning on just culture is the key. The key enabler for reporting is having that bedrock on which SMS thrives is that just culture. You need to develop systems which are user-friendly. From our perspective, we have a system in place called Speak Up. I'm not wearing my badge, but on my badge there are our values and behaviors. The first value for Boeing is safety and quality. And under that value, one of the first values is Speak Up. So you mentioned silence is the killer. I think we are aligned on that. We want to promote people in the factory to come up with the hazards. We have developed a framework of investigations, internal investigations, confidential reporting, as well as anonymous reporting. And we want to make sure that everyone has that avenue to speak up, and we owe a responsibility, our feedback to them. When it comes to the industry, as you mentioned, we are based in Dubai. Our primary role is to engage with our customers, with regional CAAs, especially keeping in view Saudi Arabia, which is a growth market. So we know, if you look at the projections, 75% of the deliveries in the Saudi market in the next 20 years will contribute to growth, not to replacement. So it's amazing growth, and I think we want to be partners in that, whether it's on SMS, whether it's on data gathering. And I think as a large OEM, we are part of various data sharing platforms in the US, in Europe, Data for Safety, D4S.
Yeah.
We also encourage development of collaborative safety teams. We are part of the CST in the UAE, which is kind of a data sharing platform among operators there, and as well as the CAA. So definitely, I believe that data is the key enabler for SMS maturity. It's always a journey. I have seen even mature airlines struggling with reporting and good reporting. So I think the more we focus on developing that positive culture, the more reports we will get, and it will lead, as I said, effective risk management and effective risk mitigation. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Suren. Yes, it comes out quite clear that Khalid needs to have data to have risk management. and have a performance-based oversight over the industry. And we do agree between us that there is plenty of data which is available with the modern systems which we have, including from the aeroplanes that we make and the aeroplanes plus helicopters that we make. So it is available. It's the question about the acceptability, that would this data be shared, and do the operators feel that is there a just culture around with the regulators, and would they feel that, okay, wherein they've stretched something, would it be taken as a stretch, or will it invite extra oversight on them? Okay, so with that, I will touch on one more question to you, Ehsan, and this is a quick one. And it just came up to me while you were talking about just culture. And I know it could sound controversial because we are competitors, right? It's a duopoly, Airbus and Boeing.
Not in safety.
Yeah, not on safety, right? But I know this is a question which would be playing on a lot of people's mind here, and I'm just vocalizing that part. So we know that, okay, despite being a great aerospace major as you are, you've made iconic planes, right? Iconic planes that everybody knows, from my dad's time to my grandfather's time probably. So you come from that company. But we also know that a few years back it was dragged very publicly through dirt and through a lot of let's say places where it emerged that something was actually wrong with Boeing on a fundamental level regarding safety. And one of the key things which came out on the investigative parts was, yes, probably the just culture mechanism was not working, in the sense that, yes, if you're saying that was Boeing blind, no, they were not blind. They were not blind because there was, somebody had raised that this could be an issue, right, on MCAS. So my quick question, and you could say pass in case if you find it controversial to reply. Do you think that there has been a change and a fundamental change around this thing, that now you hear people also speak up and there's listen up to, which is there in the company? Is this being actively promoted within your company? And are you also giving an example of what went wrong here to the others so that the message drills better?
I think every company evolves.
Yeah.
We as humans evolve every day, and the same applies to organizations. So if there is a single word I hear on a daily basis in Boeing is culture. Definitely we are focusing on having a positive safety culture. There was always a desire to do that, but there is even bigger desire. And I think that's the reason that that's why we are based in Dubai. So I was hired by Boeing just for safety in the region. And I think that shows the commitment, and that was not, I have been with the company for just 4 years. So there was a new setup created. We have similar office all across the world just to engage with our customers on safety. We are not customer support. We are not the typical field service representatives, but we are safety professionals, Boeing safety professionals embedded in the region, and we travel a lot. So definitely, to answer your question, every company evolves. Boeing is no exception. And I mentioned there is a huge focus on SMS maturity. It's always a journey, and even on learning from our customers and from the stakeholders. So yeah, and I think it can only improve.
Yeah. Thank you, Ehsan, and I wish you well, and we need you. A competition is always good. All right. So I know, Harry, you've been a little left out. I think it's just kind of, this was the extra part which came in, and I just had to ask Ehsan this thing. But coming to you would be the part that you've seen the growth which is happening around in the region, and I do remember talking with your colleagues that you see Middle East and Saudi Arabia as a very big market for aviation growth, and of course for your business also. Now, when you're looking at the regional growth as the way it is hurtling and accelerating around this place, what is the viewpoint on this part as seen from the insurance segment? That do you see that this is an ambition which is creating opportunity, or this ambition and the steep rise is also going to fuel risks? So when you are pricing and you give a rate, and again, unfortunately, the THC guy is not here, but let's say if you had to give a pricing for THC, do you give a pricing considering this kind of opportunity, or do you see some kind of instability or some kind of embedded risks in the way things are growing around here?
Thank you for that, and that's actually a great question. I guess if we take it from two sides of the conversation, so as Marsh, as the broker to the clients, obviously we've been in the region for 20 plus years in Saudi, and we've seen the growth to now. I think the opportunity for Marsh is to continue supporting our clients through to the Vision 2030 and 2040, because, as you said, it is extreme targets that have been set. And the orders, you look at Saudi Technic, you look at Riyadh Air, you look at THC, which unfortunately aren't here, and the targets are challenging, but it's our job and my job to find solutions on insurance and on risk for that. I think when you look at it from the underwriter's point of view, and it's a safe answer, but yes, it is clearly a massive opportunity for them, right? This is the fastest growing area of the world. We've not seen projected growth like this for 20, 30 years. I can't, maybe the UAE previously, but not to the same level here. So for an underwriter, it is clearly a massive opportunity to be part of that story. I guess the challenge that they will have is with rapid growth does bring more risk, and that can be across, I guess, each product line. So with an airline, all of the airlines, Flyer Deals growth, Riyadh Air's growth, that's going to happen quickly. So if it's not in place, the risk management structure and all of the topics of conversations today, that's going to lead to a higher loss record, and the premiums will be charged more. That can be through poor work around the airport, that could be through a more aggregated exposure at airports, and it's underwriters understanding the risk and working with Marsh as the broker and the client to better understand that risk will help them price it correctly. I think we're also in a point where, if we look at startups, growth is maybe 10 aircraft at a time, not, I think there's 600 aircraft on order over the next 5 years. So also how they're managing their exposures will change year on year. I think it will be a challenging process for underwriters, but I think the more engagement and the more understanding of the risk and why they're doing it and talking about just culture will help that price indication. We talked about the THC example there. The more that the underwriters understand what they're doing outside just the orders, is the better they can then manage their risk and in return relay it. Now we see it with underwriters and brokers around risk management bursaries, where underwriters can't affect the risk. They're not product experts, but they want to support their clients in achieving projects that aren't there. So that's one of the aspects where they will try and assist, but I very much deem this as an opportunity to be part of a story rather than a heightened risk that they'd want to walk away from.
Okay, Harry, so it kind of segues into what Khalid had put up earlier in his opening comments, and then he had mentioned during that time about organizational risk profiles, which GACA is creating. And I see you also echoing the same thing, that you would like to see the operators managing risks effectively and how they are looking at risks and hazards, right? And this, depending upon that, probably that's how you would price the cost of risk, which is your business, right? Now, on this part, you did also mention that just culture also plays a part in this thing too. And that brings me back to you, Khalid, on this part, that if you have, when you're having just culture, and you say that we'll have to have a just culture, you're having a risk profiles which are there around this, around every industry. How do you think that, you could give the surety or the guarantee to operators, saying that if you have managed your risk adequately or properly, and I will assure you, whatever needs to come out of the Just Culture part. That means you share me the intelligence, you tell me what is going wrong, and I will oversee you in the framework or in the lens of Just Culture. Do you think for a regulator, would it be possible to evolve into that kind of a situation, or do you think that we are still some years away, the market, the industry, and everything, to get that kind of a maturity?
Yes. I'm just cautious of time, so I'll try to be brief. So as I mentioned, the organization risk profile already existed, already implemented. We haven't faced the issue of fear of sharing information because we have carried on all the necessary communications, workshops within the industry. It recognizes where risks are without any taking any action. It's just a tool to understand the risk organizational profile and confident. The organization risk profile of each organization will not be shared. It can be shared with the organization itself. Yes, it may trigger shorter period of oversight, but that doesn't mean this oversight is because there's risk and we want to carry the oversight to find issues. It's just, like you mentioned, it's from the support. Because as GACA, when we carry on our surveillance activities, is to make sure you have your compliance. So when we collaborate on compliance issues, identify them, because now that we have the SSP, and it happened, and I don't want to say which specific case, but it happened that through oversight, we have identified that there are some gaps in compliance, but these gaps weren't like systematically, there is something systematic beyond them that has been raised through the working groups and to the National Aviation Committee, where there has been a plan set up and a strategy on how to achieve this, because at the end, what we're looking for is how to enhance safety. And again, from Just Culture is not to point blame. It's an opportunity for us to understand why you're not complying, why can't you comply? Does it require long-term projects or short-term projects? Is there something to be done? Of course, there will be records of the non-compliance because this is part of the authority. And we go back to the diagram of Just Culture, where you cannot go to blame and you cannot go to accountability. You have to balance it. And this is where the authority needs to balance between compliance and understanding the systematic issues to try to address them and enhance safety.
Okay, so Harry, since it's again linked back to you on this question, would be that, what Khalid is trying to say, of course, being a regulator always sets the minimum standards, right, for safety. And you are setting the price of the risk, as I already said. Now, if we say that the regulatory compliance is the measurement of risk management, let us say, simplistically speaking, would that be sufficient for you to price the risk favorably? Or do you think that if you could get an insight into the risk profiles or the individual risk management efforts which the companies are doing, that would be able to give them some benefits?
Yeah, I would say it's probably the latter. So I guess as Marsh, our goal here is to kind of complete the circle. So from the regulator to the client, then on to the underwriters who will price the risk. So risk management is by far a big tool, as is exposures, where you measure growth year on year. But our goal would be to, alongside our advisory arm, would be to help tell the client story to the market of why they're doing the things correctly. So yes, correct. We would be working, as a broker would want to try and involve GACA from a high level macro perspective, but we wouldn't be looking at GACA on a per risk basis. It would be more looking at the client specific risk management profiles on the assumption that GACA is leading the way and they are complying with said standards.
Okay. So, I'm looking at my watch and I see some nods also coming that, okay, probably we have a hard stop at 1300 and a little before that. So I'll try to conclude this part with a last question. to you, Ehsan. And again, you will say that all the tough questions are coming to me. So on this part, I just wanted to ask that, okay, we know that, there is a shortage of technicians in the region, and globally also it is there. And I know that on the Boeing, you keep on taking out these annual reports, so it keeps on coming after every 3 years. You've said that there's about 60,000 shortage in the next 20 years of technicians here. We also know that, again, not a tough question, but I agree, between Airbus and Boeing, we also facing a global parts shortage, a supply shortage. Now, with these two things, and with this accelerated growth which is happening, what do you think would be the obvious risk for the country for developing in Saudi Arabia? And since I'm asking you from a country-oriented question, because you mentioned that you've entered into a MOU, although the MOU is not on planes, it's on UAMs, but nevertheless, what do you think would be the risks as you perceive for Saudi Arabia?
The supply chain challenges is one of the most pressing issues facing the industry. And it's impacting OEMs, airlines, MROs alike. This combined with the labor shortage is definitely not a good combination. But as Boeing, I think we are doing our best in terms of helping our customers, providing them solutions. At the same time, the industry has various options of pooling arrangements, making sure that they order parts on time. And then again, from the aircraft data perspective, we promote use of predictive maintenance methodologies to have visibility into into futuristic visibility into the challenges. That will reduce the optimize inventory or reduce downtime, reduce unplanned maintenance events. And basically, when it comes to the impact, I think we are still recovering from COVID, but in a way, we have almost crossed 90% of pre-pandemic levels. The aircraft deliveries, the traffic exceeds the aircraft deliveries market, and it's basically it's a good sign, but then you have certain limitations. Raw material shortages, geopolitical tensions, they are all contributing to that. So I think from when you think about a bow tie as SMS experts, you have preventative and you have recovery barriers. So I think more is being done on the recovery side in terms of providing solutions. And I believe Marsh produced a report on that, Oliver Wyman and IATA. It was just last month. I read a report on that in terms of mitigating those risks on the market. I think Saudi Arabia is a growth market. As I mentioned, 75% of the deliveries impacting contributing to growth. 60,000 technicians and 60,000 pilots. That's for the Middle East region. If you go on our commercial market outlook online, and Saudi constitutes a large portion of that. Riyadh Air, for example, it's the biggest startup airline after Emirates. So we are talking one of the biggest airlines after 40 years. So we are doing our best. Just Dubai Air Show last week, there were many deals signed, not on the aircraft side, but also on the parts management side, inventory optimization sides, just to minimize that impact to whatever extent possible. Okay. And I would again emphasize on the operators that better procurement processes, better inventory management controls, and linking that risk on with the routine.
So I'll give you 30 seconds more.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we are really short on time. Sorry.
Yeah, this issue could be put on the risk registers of operators as well, because we believe that operators can manage them effectively if they treat it as a systemic risk. Yeah, and with our support, of course. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry I had to cut you there, but we all get the drift. And yes, we're all facing these shortages, but they are going to be a thing in the past soon. And coming to the end, I think that, I'll just pose one quick question to you guys, and it's a really quick one. You just need to, and this is something which I think would be, easily understood by the audience. In the end, they always want, okay, give me something which I could anchor this entire conversation with. So with the aim of 2030, and we all have agreed that it's moving at a breakneck speed out here, and there is going to be a risk management bottleneck. It's going to be inevitable. Now, for doing that, my question to you is that I'm going to give you three choices, and I would just like to hear quickly from you, without explanation, just say A, B, C. A is that the bottleneck is that we are complicating safety, okay? Excessively complicating safety. I know you will never agree on that part, being from GACA. B is that we have a human capital issue, because if you're growing this fast and the airplanes are coming this much, I know Boeing or Airbus requires, a crew of 8 pilots or 10 to man one aircraft. So is the problem about the human capital that we can't hire fast enough, or we don't have the right people with the right experience? Or C is something which we don't talk about, is that if you are going this fast, so this means that you're going to press the pedal to the floor for the next 5 years. It's 2025, 2030. So if you're going to go so fast till 2030, do you think that there could be a management fatigue, which is a risk management bottleneck? So 3 bottlenecks: A, excessively complicating safety; B, human capital issues; or C, management fatigue. Quickly, 10 seconds.
I will give it very quickly. It's all of them for me, but all of them have already set and predicted mitigations. So all of them. But all of them we have plans for and mitigations.
That's a very diplomatic answer, and I typically expect it from a regulator, but I thought maybe you'll take up the challenge to say A, B, or C. I know A would have been last for you on complicating safety.
Because they are all true.
Okay. Ehsan, would you be willing to take this challenge, that on A, complicating safety; B, human capital issues; and C, management fatigue? Which do you think is the risk management bottleneck which you see?
I would say B.
Okay, B. All right. B is human capital issues. All right. And the next?
I would agree. I would say that B is probably the
B.
most pressing, but I agree with Khalid that they're all vital.
And if you had to, between the two of you, since you were bold enough to say this, what do you say the next one would be? Would it be the complicating safety part, or do you think that you have a management fatigue which you could see coming up?
I would say it's B, then C, then A.
Same for you?
I think it's not really complicating safety. We are trying to
You just signed the MOU.
democratize
You signed the
safety.
MOU with GACA,
Yeah.
so I know you'll stay on the right side. Okay, thank you, gentlemen. With that part, I will come to an end and conclude this panel. And just to sum up quickly, of course, we have realized that the perspectives of risk management are differing. As you have seen, Harry is more concerned about, putting a price on the risk. For Boeing, it's different. It's like you got to sell planes and you also have to support planes, right? So this means that you've got to come close to the operator and handhold them. This is his part. And of course, to Khalid, it's a different thing completely, because he's the regulator after all, and he's been entrusted to ensure safety. So this is the reason why Khalid, and I expected it, he would have never agreed to A, and of course he said that all 3 are important. So with that, this just brings out how we all see risk management differently in different perspectives, but we all talk the same language. And thank you for all. Thank you very much, Khalid. Thank you, Ehsan, and thank you, Harry. So just to conclude this part, won't take more than 30 seconds or a minute for the day. As you've seen, today was the opening day for the National Aviation Safety Summit. We are having it on a format which is on the same time tomorrow too, which means from 10 to 1. Today, as you saw, that we had Khalid drawing up the initial part, which gave you a broad idea of where GACA is heading and what they are going to do about how to manage aviation safety. It was a high-level view where he talked about risk management. And of course, you saw that, and he also agreed that the risk management for GACA is anchored upon data analysis. Well, this is a great way to go. And of course, this is the only way if you have to do a performance-based oversight. Of course, we also saw during that part when I had grilled Khalid that perhaps, yes, this is the scientific way to go ahead and regulate the industry, performance-based oversight, but did it come out of a necessity or did it come out of purpose? The necessity being, is GACA scaling up as fast as the industry? Or because it is not, and hence PBO has come out of a necessity. This, I will leave it for you to ponder and think over this part. We also had Naveen from NTSC giving off his little brief and a talk. And I know this was a conceptual part for a lot of people who are anchored on Safety One, which is the classical SMS. He brought out from Eric Honegal Safety 2 principles. I know this would have been something which probably would require introduction to Safety 2 concepts, but it is a great way to say that, we don't have to always look as safety as, something is broken down and how do we fix it. We should also look at the Safety 2 way, which means that, hey, look, we've gone so far without breaking so many things, and how did we do that? That's Safety 2. So that's what Naveen brought to the table today. And then, of course, we had Adam, which was there, and he talked about a very fundamental part around just culture. And we had a panel which described the challenges about just culture and how different companies are promoting and pushing just culture to make their organization safe. And on the terminal part, we had this panel on risk management, which I just concluded and summarized. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, and we're just 3 minutes shy of the cutoff time. Thank you for your kind attention and your patience. And I wish to see you tomorrow at the same time. We follow the same format, but with different themes and with a different agenda. Thank you very much. Have a great day.